morning. I'm Nadine Gilkison, the District Technology Integration Specialist in Franklin Township, and we're located in Indianapolis, Indiana. And this morning I'm going to be talking to you about a blog post that I decided to write over the weekend, and it has to do with Webb's depth of knowledge and a image or several images that have been appearing all over the internet. And it's this image, and I've gone ahead and I've put a red X over it, but I wanted to make sure that I explain why I'm putting the red X over it. So a lot of people are familiar with Webb's depth of knowledge, and what I fear is that teachers go out to the internet and they start to search about Webb's depth of knowledge, and when they're doing that, and hi Cammie, I did see that you joined, when they're doing that, they are finding these images which take Webb's depth of knowledge as well as the SAMR model, and they try to package it all into one graphic. And I have a real problem with that. And the reason why, and my blog post really, goes in depth about it. The reason why is that they place apps or a Web 2.0 tool into a certain category or a certain level of SAMR or Webb's depth of knowledge. And the problem that I have with that is that that's truly not meaningful technology integration. What a teacher or a student in your classroom can do with an app or with that web tool is going to define what level of depth of knowledge or SAMR that it applies to. Okay, and this morning the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I wanted to take this image and give you some examples. For instance, under the substitution category, they have Twitter listed, but I don't see Twitter listed anywhere else on this wheel. And so if I'm a teacher that's, not as tech savvy, I'm going to look at this image and I'm going to assume, well, if I do one thing with Twitter, then I know that that's the category that it belongs in. And that's not the case. It's all about what the teacher or what you're having students do with Twitter that determine where it's going to be on that wheel. Okay, so yeah, I can be at the substitution level. I could, take announcements and post them onto Twitter that I could go ahead, and just hand out to my parents or hand out to students. But there's so much more that you can do with Twitter at those higher levels. Having students interact to get comments online about feedback of work that they're doing in class. That is higher levels of depth of knowledge and also with the SAMR model. But yet again, when you look at this wheel, it's not being indicated on here. So that's one of the reasons that I have a problem with it. Just as another example, they have the app Explain Everything only under augmentation. And again, apps that are like Explain Everything, Stage Pro, EduCreations, all of those types of apps, you can do more than augment with them. If you're collaborating with others online, if you're sharing it out, getting that global feedback, it can be at different points on this depth of knowledge spectrum. And the last thing that I want to reference about this image is that I know when I've heard Todd Whitaker speak, he said that technology has the shelf life of a banana. Okay, well, that's true. And so technology is rapidly changing. And I will even admit that with the image that you see here, there's some apps or sites that are listed on here that don't even exist anymore, or they've been updated, and that's not reflected in that image. So I want to make sure that people understand that I don't have a problem with the wheel. I just have a problem with adding apps and sites and pinpointing exactly where they go. Because again, I truly believe that it's what a teacher can do in the classroom with it. So on my blog post down below that picture, I also have on there, I found online over the weekend there was a school district that actually took the Webb's depth of knowledge and they created a document where they talked about where does technology integration fall into that. So that link is on there. And so up at the top, they give a teacher some examples of depth of knowledge. But what I really like is down below, they start to break it down into technology integration. And the reason why that I like it so much is because of the fact that they're not naming apps and they're not naming sites. Instead, rather, they are they're giving you skills, and they're giving you, projects and concepts of what you should be doing. For instance, when I look at level 4, that's where you're going to start to see that project-based learning and those types of inquiry projects at levels 3 and 4. I'm not saying specifically this is an app that I'm going to do with it, because again, it all goes back to what has the teacher decided to do with it. Okay, so if you aren't familiar with Webb's depth of knowledge, or you need a refresher, on my post I have some great samples of like an intro to what Webb's depth of knowledge is. I found a great video that talked about depth of knowledge in an ELA classroom at a middle school level. And again, even if you're elementary, I would highly suggest that you watch it, because it gave great examples so that you can see representations of each level. But the one that I really wanted to talk about is down here at the bottom. I found it over the weekend when I was working on this blog post, and I tweeted Dan Meyer yesterday. And if you aren't following him, he's great. I came across his TED Talk, which is actually from 2010, and he did his TED Talk about talking about the importance of, math curriculum and how we need to make real life activities that approach those levels, the 3 and 4 levels of depth of knowledge. And I know that he was a secondary math teacher, but my background comes from elementary, and I would strongly suggest anybody, no matter if you teach math or not, his TED Talk is definitely worth it to take a look at. And I've also given several links. One of the key focuses that I liked about what Dan Meyer came up with, since doing his TED Talk, he has several different projects. One of them is this site called 101 Questions. And this is so cool. What he's done is, his philosophy is that he believes that a student, and he pulls up in that TED Talk an example of a math problem and how it appears in a textbook. And he's saying that we give kids too much information. If we want to add that inquiry and we want to get to those higher levels of depth of knowledge, then we need to remove some of the things that are there. So hence he came up with this site, 101 Questions. And so he's trying to get kids to look at the information and decide what do they think that the mathematical question is. So if you haven't come across his site, 101 Questions, it's definitely worth a look if you teach math at any level. A few of his other sites that he has on here, he has a graphingstories.com that you'll want to take a look at as well. Again, all of these activities are designed to be at those higher levels. Okay? Now, the thing, and down here where it says Dan Meyer's 3-act math tasks, you're going to want to take a look at that one too. What Dan has done is he's created a Google spreadsheet, and it's constantly being updated, but he's talking about how he fully believes that you should split math into 3 different acts. And so he actually has a link to the lesson, and he's got a link to, the lesson plan and also the standards that it's covering. So definitely take a look at that as well. Now, I did not realize until I started to research Dan Meyer yesterday, because I was, so getting excited about all of his work. I was already familiar with the site Desmos, and if you're not, I'll go ahead and I'll type it in here in case you haven't come across that site. Okay, Desmos is a site that has all kinds of great math lessons, and I didn't realize until yesterday that Dan Meyer is the mastermind behind Desmos. So this is another one of his projects that he leads. So again, math teachers, I've got some great examples of things that you want to take a look at with Webb's depth of knowledge at those higher levels of math. But again, I did want to make sure that that I explained the reason why I did this blog post and why I let people know that I'm not a big fan of the technology wheel. So as you go out and you're looking for resources, it's fine to use the pedagogy wheel, but do not try to find images where they've got specific apps and sites. Okay? All right, so I'm going to be heading out, and hopefully that answered your questions. If you have further questions about it, you can feel free to email me. But otherwise, I hope everybody has a great Monday. All right, bye.